All right, we are live on YouTube.
All righty, welcome everybody to the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. It is Wednesday, April 30th, and we are here to hear an amendment to S50 proposed by Representatives Harrison and McCoy. I'm Representative Kathleen James from Manchester.
Richard Bailey, Lamoille 2.
Tomorrow, Windsor, Bennington.
Michael South with Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howland, Rutland 4.
Territory, Washington 2.
Rob Klempner, Chittenden 13, Burlington.
Morrisville, Wyndham 2.
Scott Campbell, representative from St. Johnsbury.
Jack Locker, committee assistant.
Great, joining us in the room.
Greg Pater with the PUC.
Great, for the record.
Good morning. Representative Jim Harrison from Chittenden, and I am here as a co-sponsor of an amendment on today's calendar to S50. If you're willing, I would just share a little bit of background on the amendment.
Sounds good.
For those of you who were here last session, as we passed, I think it was H289, setting a renewable energy standard that is estimated to increase the cost of electricity to Vermonters by the Joint Fiscal Office anywhere between a low of 150 million to a high of 450 million. There were some estimates from the Public Service Department that went much higher than that. I don't pretend to know what the exact number is. I wish it were no more than we're paying now, subject to inflationary gains over time. But nonetheless, I think most agreed, certainly our Joint Fiscal Office agreed, that it would cost more money. No one was, I should say no one, I don't think there was any opposition to the aim of the bill to get to 100% renewable. So what this amendment, and I will add a caveat, one change in the amendment that's before you, and that is in section 6, subparagraph A, was put in there by mistake, and I didn't catch it when I looked at it. I apologize. Not that I don't agree with section A, but section A changes our greenhouse gas reduction mandates to goals. And this was lifted from another bill that has been in your committee for several months now, and went on further. The intent of the amendment is to talk strictly about the renewable energy standard that was passed and enacted through a override. So taking that out, that's a conversation for another day. The rest of the bill makes some specific changes to the renewable energy standard, primarily changing the renewable energy standard to a clean energy standard. Why the change? It gives us to the point where we're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions as designed. However, it would allow for such things as nuclear, which are currently about 18% of our portfolio. And that alone will reduce the cost to Vermonters and what they pay. We have current contracts which will not be able to be renewed under the renewable energy standard that is existing law today. It also, so throughout the amendment, there are changes for changing RES to CES, Clean Energy Standard, as opposed to Renewable Energy Standard. It also changes another cost-saving measure is the distribution requirement. Some of you may remember there was an amendment on the House floor introduced by Representative Walker and myself that attempted to provide utilities an option if they were going to have to do new distribution costs over and above what would already existing or would be normally needed for expanding electric use, to cite more in-state renewables that would allow to purchase renewable energy outside of Vermont on a regional basis to avoid those extra costs. That would be a petition requirement for the PUC. That amendment failed, so it's resurfacing again as part of this amendment. The other thing that the amendment does is, and I'm going to get into a little bit of the weeds and beyond some of my knowledge, but we have what is called, Representative Sibilia will know this much better than I would, but tier 2 and tier 4, and the bill passed last year allows for alternative payments if you can't meet those requirements. So with the changes in this amendment, you would be at the lower alternative payment model. And I forget whether that's tier 2 or tier 4. I should know that, but so that would lower some of those costs as well. So overall, the amendment is, if we're going to go forward, which we are, to a clean, renewable and clean energy, make some changes to allow us to get to a point where we can do it a little bit more cost effectively for Vermonters without changing our emissions objectives that were in the bill last year.
Yeah, Representative Sibilia, and I've got some questions.
Jim, this pretty narrow little bill we've got here, did you check in with the clerk about germaneness of this amendment?
I did not.
So, my sense is that I don't want to spend a ton of time on a deep policy conversation because my sense is that this will be ruled not germane, because we took great care in committee to make sure that we were crafting a pretty narrow bill, and that the only thing that was relevant to the bill was the expedited registration process. This is a pretty significant expansion of the scope, but I did have a couple questions for you. I wondered, we have been taking some testimony on the clean energy standard, especially in relation to the REPRC program that was proposed in H289, because I see that most of this is lifted from H289. And one thing we learned was interesting because, nuclear power is, well, we all know it's controversial. I mean, it's a big area, I think, that we would want to be careful about. And so one thing we learned that was interesting to me was that the clean energy standard, if we went to it tomorrow, would save about $4 million. So that's across Vermont energy spending of $950 million to $1 billion a year. So we could switch to the clean energy standard tomorrow, and the average Vermonter would save 38 cents a month. So I feel like for that, all savings matter and all cost savings are important, but I feel like for that level of savings, it's something I really want to be careful about. Right now, I think that what the impact of this amendment would be to allow utilities to go from getting over time by 2030. So let's say it's 2030 right now. Utilities, instead of sourcing 100% of their power from renewables, would only have to get 75% of their power from power from renewables. So in that 25,
They could go higher.
Yeah, in that 25%, right now 16% is existing, like Seabrook and stuff. So we'd be trying to source an additional 9% of our credits from what I think is a very proven market, like small next generation nuclear tech. That's not ready.
And it doesn't have to be all Seabrook or plants like Seabrook. It could be large scale hydro. that may not fit the definitions in the legislation last year going forward when the current contracts expire. So those have potential for some significant cost savings. And I'm a believer that it should be explored.
I'm not sure I disagree with you. I think folks in my committee know I'm not a big fan of massive floor amendments that take us in huge policy directions that haven't been carefully vetted. Rep. Sibilia?
Just want to make sure, clarify. So utilities will be able to continue to purchase nuclear power. Just may or may not, the same financial sense it does.
Well, there's, you know, a change in what's allowable for the credits.
Yeah.
And my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that when those current contracts expire, they cannot be renewed under Vermont's law.
No, they can. They just may not make the same financial sense that they do.
I mean, I think right now we're paying wholesale maybe 6.5 cents, if I can recall, for that, which is significantly less than some of the alternatives, and certainly significantly less than some of our net metering programs that we're encouraging through this bill. This bill, but also the renewable energy for life here.
All right, well, we're going to do a straw poll vote and then see what happens on the floor, I guess. Yeah.
I have a quick question. This is a
Yeah,
straw,
Rep. Campbell?
this is a straw poll and would not count as one of my recorded, my 3 recorded votes
That's correct.
remotely. Is that right?
Does not count?
Does not.
Oh, great. Okay, so you can use up
Thank you.
you're not using your credits.
Yeah. I want to save it for something important.
Right.
I'm teasing Jim.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
Point of order, Rep. Campbell. All right. Thank you so much for coming in, Jim.
All right.
Appreciate it. Dara, do you want to drop poll list? I think we don't need to really do anything. Okay, after he leaves. No. All right. All in favor?
In favor.
3. All opposed. All right. Thanks, Rep. Harrison.
Okay.
All right, folks, we can go off live and adjourn, and we'll be.
Madam Chair, may I explain my vote?
We're still on live.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Say
Sebelia's leaving, and sure,
Yeah.
you.
No, I just want to say that I am enthusiastic about including nuclear power in our energy portfolio. And just feel that this amendment wasn't the right vehicle or venue to explore that further.